When we voted for the priorities ballot, one of the motions that we chose as a delegation to vote for was an education motion, partly because we think education is a really big issue for our constituency, and we also think it's a really big issue where Labour's got a lot of votes to win and to win back as well amongst the education community, but also because the actual motion was a really good motion, and we thought it merited discussion at conference. And when the results of the priorities ballot came back, that motion had actually got a tiny number of votes. But what was really interesting was it had actually been given fewer votes than our constituency was entitled to. Because if people don't know, your constituency gets a weighted number of votes equal to the number of members you had at the previous 31st December. And at 31st December last year, Brighton Pavilion had approximately 3,500 members. So our vote should have carried it was basically 3,500 votes we were casting every time we voted. And we did all vote, it was one vote you cast, so that was 3,500 votes cast at once. And when it came back, this motion was recorded as only having got something like 2,835 or something like that votes. So we went to Conference Arrangements Committee and we said, are you sure your balloting procedures are correct? Because either you haven't counted all the ballots or there's something wrong with the system, which would be even more serious. And after about a day, they sent us back a reply, and funnily enough, it didn't come from Conference Arrangements Committee, it came from the legal unit. And they said, no, you only got 1,806 votes, because that's all you're entitled to, that was your membership last December. And to which we immediately replied and said, no, it wasn't. We were entitled to 15 delegates. Check your records. We had about 3,500 members last year, and if we didn't have 3,500 members, we wouldn't have been entitled to 15 delegates. And still, we haven't had a reply to that query. And what we did during conference, we tried to get a reply to that query. We didn't get a reply to that query during conference. We weren't allowed to raise it to challenge the CAP report on that point. We did raise it with the chair of conference, and we couldn't raise another reference back to a CAP report. And we haven't had a reply from any part of the party on it. We are pushing it to get a reply. We did raise it with other constituencies because, as it stands, we don't know if that was a one-off error or if it affected any other constituencies. So as delegates, we talked to other constituencies and we said to them, you should go and check your card votes. Because if you haven't checked the number of votes you're getting, how do you know that it's been correctly allocated? Because all these votes add up. And we had a number of other constituencies telling us they checked and they hadn't got the right number of votes either. So this is an important issue, and it's one that needs to be followed up, and it's one that, as members, we should be aware of. And if you know people in other constituencies, you should mention it to them as well.
Thank you very much. So there's just a small flavour of some of the behind-the-scenes going on at the conference, which now, those few of you in the room who haven't yet read all the delegates' reports online, what are you going to do when you finish this meeting, go home? You're going to go home and read them all now, because there are other nuggets hidden away in there that if you don't read them, you won't know and you'll be the ones missing out.